It's been 18 months since the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, was taken hostage by the Nigerian government in Zaria, Kaduna State.
Now, he has remained in custody despite a court judgment ordering his release since December last year. Joining us is a lawyer, a seasoned lawyer, Barrister Monday Onyekachi Ubani. He was former chairman of the Nigeria Bar Association Ikeja branch. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Right, this issue has been on and on and on and on. I know we've had you here before to discuss this issue, but let us even understand. The government has told Nigerians to have respect for the rule of law, to stand, to make sacrifices and all of that. And government that should be in the forefront, being on the driver's seat to drive the obedience to rule of law, is not obeying a court order here when it comes to the release of El-Zakzaky.
Somebody will say it's amazing.
What do you say?
If they preach all these beautiful sermons, we just pointed out, and are not practicing it, that would be wrong. The position of the law in any democracy is that if somebody is alleged to have committed a crime, and you have all the evidence, what you do is to, prefer a charge, against that person, and then ensure diligent prosecution. That is the position. But I'm yet to see any law that allows what we call indefinite detention of a citizen. I'm yet to see that law, whether in the Constitution or in any enactment of the National Assembly. I'm yet to see any law that permits indefinite. There must be a timeline within which you must tidy up the investigation you've done, tidy up the evidence you have against that individual, and then ensure you prosecute that person. It's either he is found guilty or he is asked to go home for being innocent. So I'm yet to understand the story of the government, why they are still keeping this man indefinitely, despite court orders that he should be released on bail. So I am finding it very difficult. I'm yet to get a proper explanation from the government why they are still keeping him in detention.
Okay, the spokesman of the president, Garba Shehu, came out and said he's been held for his own good, according to Garba Shehu, that he's been held for his own good, and that his wife is held alongside him so as she can take care of him. But that's the response from Garba Shehu. But let's look at some of the laws, specific terms of some of the laws that might have been breached in putting this man away for so long. 187 days really after the judgment ruled, the court ruled. The court says 45 days after the judgment. From that December to, I think, till now, it's about 187 days after the court ruled. The issue of liberty, really, in terms of freedom. And the issue of right to life. We understand that the man has gone blind in one eye. Can we pick that one after the other so we just don't gloss over it?
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. It's a constitutional provision. Issue of fundamental human rights is enshrined. And it's the highest right, actually, the human right. And not only is it a local thing, it's an international thing. The UN, the AU, and even in our local, the Constitution, which is the highest law in the land, made adequate and elaborate provision as to issue of right to life, which he has rightly pointed out, right to liberty, freedom of expression, that of movement, is all enshrined. Now, as I said earlier, there are clauses that derogate these rights, but you must define it. If you don't find those derogatory clauses, sections that gives you power to do that, then you have no right to detain the person. If you arrest somebody, you have a timeline within which to charge the person, either 2 days, highest, and if you must have a reason to detain because you have not completed the investigation, you go to court. And then court will give you timeline, the magistrate, will give you a time within which it's not usually more than 15 days. You should have completed your investigation. But in this case, now you're mentioning 100 and something days. And not only has he not been charged to court, the point is that he has gone to court to enforce his fundamental human right, saying that if you have any charge against me, charge me or release me unconditional. And the court has looked at all the evidence, or whatever papers the government has presented and said this man should be released on bail. And that pronouncement has been made either twice or thrice over this matter. and even giving timeline within which to release in 45 days. So, and you are still keeping him, contrary to court order. That cannot be tolerated by a democratic government. You know, if you say you are practicing democracy, as Festus Okoye has actually said, you know, you must obey the law of the land. There must be due process. And in the absence of explaining why you are still detaining him, to the conviction of the court, because the court must be convinced why you are still keeping him, then you have no right to do that. Because I don't think they have done that explanation to the court. If the court has proper explanation why they must keep him, the court would make a contrary order. But when the court is satisfied that the man has no reason to be kept in indefinite detention, the court has ordered that he should be released. And I think that the government of the day is being urged on. Now, the person in charge of government today is a lawyer, he's a professor of law, he's a senior advocate of Nigeria. He has been the former Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice in Lagos. And so he's somebody that also is associated with the issue of respect to human rights. He's a human rights lawyer. So I think that he will advise, you know, his government to try as much as possible to save this government from this embarrassment. It's a looming embarrassment. Because even those that support this government, people that support this government, people like Femi Falana, people like Mr. Bani, who are, you know, advocates of this government, are now saying that, look, in the light of what is happening, it's becoming embarrassment to some of us who...
Except you said that Femi Falana might be biased because he's a lawyer to El-Zakzaky.
Yeah, but he's also a supporter of this government. And if he's saying, look, in the light of this, the right thing should be done. I'm not saying that maybe because he's a lawyer, that's why, but in the right thing to do by any person that loves this government is to advise them that unless you have any other reason, which I feel that the court should know, then you have no reason to detain this man definitely. The best thing to do is to charge him to court or you release him unconditionally. Now, when you are saying you are keeping him for his own safety, I think the man should be able to determine what is good for him and not for the government to determine. You know, so to me, it's becoming embarrassment, and I think that the government should do the right thing.
All right. Now, taking away the legal aspect of things or the courts, anything that has to do with the laws and all of that.
Yes.
Is there anything maybe political that the government is scared of, or if he's released, that is going to pose some kind of a threat or an upturn of the system?
That they have not told us, but you want me now to probably, you know, look into their mind. Well, let me let me look into this in mind of the government. You know, that case was a bit mishandled. The people, they were sort of a nuisance actually. They've been doing it over time and all that. But the government didn't handle it well. The way they tackled it, you know, created some loopholes. I understand that he was beaten. I also understand that, you know, she mentioned it that the man has lost one of his eyes. So the government may be apprehensive that if you release this man now, with this issue of lost eyesight, how would his people react and all that? So the best thing is to keep him,
until
from
the second eye goes.
I don't know. We're keeping out of the. So the government must have explanation why they are still doing this. But I'm saying that it may be because of some of the thing that happened, and they don't want to bring him out in such a manner that we show, look, oh, we didn't handle this in very well. This man had 2 eyes, but now he has only 1 eye and all that. And it may create some ripples that the government would not like, a unnecessary crisis to be created at this point in time. That is maybe the reason why they are keeping him. But they should come clean and tell us why they are still keeping El-Zakzaky. As I said earlier, the court has not been convinced that there is any reason why they are still keeping him. Because if they have facts and they produce it before the court, I think the court will say, okay, in the light of this, we authorize this detention. But in the light of the fact that you have not produced any evidence, the court has now made an order that you should release him. I think that the proper thing, and for anyone that loves this government, is to advise them to do the right thing.
Okay, but according to the lawyer, Femi Falana, he doesn't even have access to him right now as we speak. Is that also a political reason?
And that again is a violation, because you see, there are things we should. If you look at the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, it even says, look, you can't answer any question now to the police or to any security agencies without your lawyer.
Without your lawyer.
You have a right to remain silent and insist that my lawyer must be with me before I answer any question. So the law is there. It's the only thing that we don't practice all those niceties that are provided by the law. So we are saying it's even wrong for you to deny him access to his lawyers. It's even wrong for you to deny him access to his medical doctors. These are things we should not do if we are practicing democracy. That can only be allowed under a military regime. But when you say you are a democratic government and you came under a constitutional law then you must allow law to run its course. But when you are now violating the law that brought you in, then you are not helping the politics. So I think that the proper thing to do is to ensure that his lawyers have access to him, his medical doctors have access to him, to examine whether he is still, well, health-wise. So these are the things you need to do in order to ensure that you are respecting the rights of the citizens. It's very, very important. The rights of citizens cannot be compromised unless under the military. We are not operating under the military, President.
All right. Without necessarily wishing negative extremes, but if we have to put all scenarios on ground, what would be the implication if somehow he under the detention or under the custody of the government, the man dies? Are we seeing another Boko Haram?
Yeah. Well, it will be something we shouldn't contemplate. Because you know how Boko Haram, became severe. It was as a result of mishandling also of the leader, and he died in the custody of the security agent. So we won't pray for him to die in the cycle. I'm sure the government also must be sensitive in ensuring that he is medically taken care of.
Well, that's why his wife is there. Is the wife the doctor? That's another question.
The wife is not.
The wife is there to take care of him.
The wife is under detention. You see, no matter what, there is nothing you value in life like freedom. Just make a mistake and lock yourself inside the room, and probably the key is nowhere to be seen. You can have the feeling, even though you are in your room and all that, or you are climbing a lift. All of a sudden, the light is taken. For that one few seconds, you begin to lose your breath. Then let alone that somebody has, and that security agencies are out there, that you have lost your freedom. Yeah. The greatest thing that can happen to a man, my brother, is for you to be free. If you go to prison and see these guys when they sing the song of freedom and the song, God's song, when they are there, when I visit them, they sing a song that shows you that, look, where we are not happy.
We're not happy.
Freedom is the highest anything any person can enjoy.
We are wrapping up this session. It's a very good thing, but let me just quickly chip in.
Yes.
Well,
you keep
time
mentioning,
is really against us now.
Military regime, those. But you remember even in 1984, those who were arrested under Decree 2 were released.
Yes, they were even released, and the court even made pronouncement uttering their release. I agree with you. We're now under democracy. I think that the proper thing for our acting president to do in the circumstances to release El-Zakzaky or charge him to court.
Okay. Thank you very much, Barrister Monday Onyekachi Obani, for joining us on the program right now.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.